Oliver's here with the international newspapers today. First up, that story we've been headlining all morning, the killing of two gunmen, of course, outside that conference in Texas. You've been looking at some of the local papers there, haven't you?
That's right. The Dallas Morning News reports that a security guard was brought to hospital with a leg wound, but later released. The conference in the Dallas suburb of Garland had been heavily guarded. The organisers, the self-styled American Freedom Defense Initiative, had forked out $10,000 to pay for 40 police officers to secure the event. So they obviously had been worried about attacks. It was quite a controversial event anyway, centering on cartoons of the Prophet Mohammad. Witnesses reported about 20 shots being fired before the two gunmen were killed. The men's car was then left untouched until bomb disposal experts were able to ascertain whether it was booby-trapped or not. Now, the organisers had been expecting protests, but the local branch of the Council on American Islamic Relations said it had been actively ignoring the conference and had asked members of the Muslim community to do the same. The Dallas Morning News quotes a local imam, Zia Sheikh, who condemned the attack, and he said it appeared to be by a lone wolf, and it said it's just not what we need.
Staying in the US, we've got some revelations about Hillary Clinton that could well harm her chances in her run, of course, for the presidency.
That's right. The Washington Post has a story about a Canadian mining magnate, Frank Giustra, who has been a close friend to the Clintons for the past decade, dating back to 2005 when the Vancouver-based mogul lent his plane to Bill Clinton to make a charity trip to Latin America. Since then, Giustra has contributed $100 million to the Bill Clinton Foundation. There's nothing wrong with this in itself, but it has raised suspicions because a foreign donor who would not be allowed to make political contributions is allegedly buying access to a powerful family using charity donations. Giustra said he admires what Bill Clinton does and I want to be a part of it, but I've never asked him for a damn thing. He has benefited, however, from these travels, closing business deals, and many of them, including Kazakhstan and Colombia. One of those visits to Colombia was with Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State. Now, the Post's article doesn't really have any evidence of wrongdoing, but there is a smoking gun. A Canadian affiliate of the Clinton Foundation has not revealed its donors, despite committing to do so to the Obama administration in 2008. It probably won't really overly jeopardise Hillary Clinton's presidential bid, but it certainly won't help her shed her image that she's a little bit too close to wealthy businessmen.
Joy from Nigeria now, that dramatic rescue over the last week, really. More and more being rescued, women and children who'd been held captive by Boko Haram.
Yes, the London Independent carries the story, reporting that 275 women and children arrived safely at a refugee camp, having been rescued by Nigeria's army. In all, 677 were rescued last week. Their journey to safety took 3 days and was 320 kilometres long. Many of the escapees are suffering from malaria, diarrhea and malnutrition. 12 women died in the rescue, having been forced by Boko Haram to shoot at soldiers and to act as human shields. Nigeria's Daily Trust also covers the story, saying that Boko Haram killed male family members before taking the women and children to Sambisa forest. The women told of their ordeal that they were not allowed to move 1 inch without surveillance, and another 10 of their number died on the way back from captivity.
China now, making inroads on another continent, not Europe. This is Africa, isn't it?
Actually, not Africa either. It's Antarctica.
Okay.
It really is the final frontier.
That's very different. Okay.
The New York Times reports that China is to step up its Antarctic research. President Xi Jinping was visiting this weekend a Chinese icebreaker in the Tasmanian port of Hobart. He had just signed a 5-year accord with the Australian government that allows Chinese vessels and aircraft to refuel on the way south. China opened its 4th research station on Antarctica last year. Its operations are the fastest growing of the 52 signatories of the Antarctic Treaty. Now, the Times suggests that Beijing is aiming to take advantage of the continent's resources when that treaty expires in 2048. The treaty currently forbids any military activity on the continent.
Okay, they're moving everywhere, aren't they? Finally, 9 days on from the Nepal earthquake, the country still very much struggling to get the aid through.
Yes, The Guardian reports that 3/4 of the buildings in Kathmandu are uninhabitable or unsafe following the quake. That's according to a survey carried out by the Nepali Engineers Association. 153,000 homes across the country lie in ruins. Another 170,000 are damaged. The reconstruction may cost more than $10 billion. More than 7,200 people are known to have died, and aid is very slow getting to remote rural regions. The Nepalese press is critical of its government. The Himalayan Times says the government's decision to impose a, quote, one-door policy for channeling assistance is impeding the relief effort. A lot of aid is backing up at Kathmandu airport as we speak. It says the suffering is too great for the government's capacity to meet, and it needs to encourage more aid to pour in. The Himalayan Times says the outpouring of international support has been great, but that the government should be encouraging that and saying all are welcome.
Okay, all are welcome there in Nepal. Thanks very much, Oliver, with the international papers.